Okay, let's talk about modal verbs. You know, those little words like can, could, should, and must that can totally change what a sentence means. Get them wrong, and you might accidentally sound rude when you're trying to be polite, but get them right? They are one of the most powerful tools you have in English, and it all boils down to one simple secret. Let's get into it. So, why is this such a big deal? Well, the problem is that a lot of these words seem like they mean the same thing, but using the wrong one can make you sound super demanding when you really want to be polite, or maybe a little unsure when you need to sound direct. It's all about the nuance. I mean, think about it. You've been there, right? You're in a situation where you have to ask for something, but you're not quite sure how to phrase it. You want to get what you need, but you also, want to make the right impression. That exact feeling, that's what this is all about. This right here perfectly illustrates the point. Can you pass the salt? It's direct, it gets the job done, no problem. But could you pass the salt? It just feels a little softer, a bit more polite, doesn't it? It's a tiny one-word change with a real social impact. So how do you know which one to pick? Okay, before we get to the big secret, let's just quickly cover the basics. To really master these little helper verbs, we first got to know exactly what they are and what they do. At their very core, modal verbs are helper verbs. They don't really work on their own. They team up with a main verb to add a whole new layer of meaning. They express ideas like ability, she can swim, or possibility, it might rain. Think of them like modifiers that give the main verb a specific flavor. And here are the main players for our explainer today. You've seen all of them before. Can, could, may, might, should, must, will, and would. Each one has its own personality, its own strength, and understanding that strength is the key to absolutely everything. All right, here we go. This is the big aha moment. If you've been trying to learn modal verbs by just memorizing these long, boring lists of uses, I'm here to tell you there's a much, much simpler way. It all comes down to one single concept. The secret to mastering modal verbs isn't about memorizing dozens of different definitions for every single word. That's the old, frustrating way, and frankly, it's why so many people get confused. It's about understanding their relative strength, or what we're going to call their power level. Some modals are really strong and direct, almost like a command. Others are weak and gentle, more like a suggestion. Once you get this one idea, everything else just clicks into place. So let's put this theory into practice. We're going to look at 4 really common situations: expressing possibility, making requests, giving advice, and asking for permission, and we'll see how that power level changes with each modal verb. First up, expressing possibility. So imagine you're describing your city and you want to say it has the potential to be dangerous at night. Which modal verb do you choose? Well, the answer depends entirely on how certain you feel about that. This chart shows the difference so clearly. If you say my city can be dangerous, that's a pretty strong statement. We're talking like 80% certainty. It's a real known possibility. Could be dangerous drops that down to about 60% certain. And if you say my city might be dangerous, that's only about 30% certain. It's just a slight possibility. See? One sentence, 3 very different levels of warning. Okay, let's move on to making a request. This is something we all do every single day. You need help, so you have to ask for it. The model you choose here isn't about certainty, it's all about politeness. Looking at this scale, you can really see the difference. Can you help us? It's direct and informal, sitting at about 40% on our politeness scale. It's totally fine for friends.
Could you help us? That jumps way up to 70%. It's a safe, polite choice for most situations. But if you want to be extra polite and formal, would you help us is your best bet, hitting about 80%.
On to our third use case, giving advice. Let's just say your friend's hair is getting a little out of control. You want to suggest a haircut, but how strongly do you want to suggest it? Your choice of modal verb is everything here.
Here, the power levels are really distinct. You could get a haircut is a super gentle suggestion, only 40% strong. It's just an idea you're throwing out there, no big deal. You should get a haircut is much stronger, up at 80%. This is genuine advice. You really think it's a good idea. But you must get a haircut. Whoa, that's 100%. That's not advice anymore. That's a command. There's really no room for discussion there.
All right, for our final example, let's look at asking for permission. You're in a museum and you want to take a photo. How do you ask? Again, it all comes down to politeness and formality.
So, as the chart shows, can I take a picture is the most casual way to ask, at about 40% polite. Could I take a picture is a nice step up in politeness to 60%. But the classic, most formal option is, may I take a picture, clocking in at 70%. In a formal setting like a museum, may is almost always the right choice to show respect.
So, we've broken down possibility, requests, advice, and permission. We've seen how this concept of power levels works in every single case. Now, let's bring it all together into one simple, powerful tool you can use anytime you want. And here it is. This is your master key. This single chart summarizes everything we've just covered. For possibility, you go from the weak might up to the strong can. For requests, you climb the politeness ladder from can to would. For advice, it's could all the way up to the command must. And for permission, it's can up to the very formal may. Instead of memorizing rules, just think about where you want to be on that power or politeness scale. The goal isn't just to know what these words mean, it's to feel their strength and choose them with intention. Thinking in terms of these power levels gives you the control to communicate exactly what you mean in exactly the right way. So the only question left is, how will you use this key to make your own communication more powerful and more precise?